Welcome to another deep dive. Today we're going to be talking about something really interesting, humanity's attraction to beauty and design.
Yeah.
And it's more than just appreciating pretty things. We're going to get into how it really shapes our world in ways we often don't even realize.
Yeah, for sure.
We're going to be looking at some audio excerpts from a nonfiction book.
Okay.
And I think you're going to find this really fascinating.
I'm excited.
We're basically going on a mission to uncover how design really impacts our choices, behaviors, even our perceptions, even when we're totally unaware of it.
Yeah.
Pretty cool, huh?
Yeah, I mean, what strikes me is that design isn't, it's not a modern invention. Like, it's been with us for a lot longer than we might even think.
Right. The book talks about these 400,000-year-old hand axes
Wow.
that they found, and they were crafted with a level of symmetry that there was no practical purpose to it.
Really?
It wasn't like they needed it to be symmetrical to be functional. So to me, that suggests that even way back then, people had an appreciation for beauty.
Yeah, it kind of challenges what we think about early humans, right? Like, they
Right.
weren't just focused on survival. They were incorporating aesthetics into their everyday life.
Right. It's almost like, I don't know, is design a luxury, or is it
Yeah.
something more basic to what makes us human?
I think based on what we're seeing, it seems like it might be even more fundamental.
Totally.
Yeah.
And it's not just hand axes. They even found that Neanderthals were using makeup 50,000 years ago.
Wow, that's incredible.
So this desire to kind of express ourselves aesthetically, it goes way back.
Deeply ingrained, yeah.
But I wonder how much of that is, in our DNA and how much is learned.
Well, the book talks about how childhood stories kind of reinforce this connection between beauty and positive qualities. Think about fairy tales.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Sleeping Beauty or
Yeah.
Beauty and the Beast, where the beast turns into this handsome prince.
It's funny. It's like those stories, they tell us that inner beauty is what matters, but then they also kind of suggest that there's this connection between physical beauty and being happy.
Exactly.
It makes you think, how much are those stories shaping how we view beauty and how important it is to us?
It's a good question. And it's not just fairy tales. Like, biology and evolution play a huge role in what we find beautiful.
Okay.
Like, take symmetry, for example. We're drawn to faces and objects that are symmetrical.
Yeah, and smoothness.
Yes.
A smooth surface usually means that something's healthy and safe.
Right.
But something rough or bumpy, it might, make us think of danger or disease.
Yeah. It's like, imagine you're picking an apple.
Uh-huh.
You're more likely to choose the one that's smooth and shiny over one that's bruised and bumpy. It just looks healthier.
That's true. So basically, we're hardwired to like certain things, and it probably goes back to, our ancestors needing to make good choices to survive.
Exactly. Over thousands of years, we've developed these preferences that guide us towards safety and health.
That's fascinating. And what really blew my mind was the book section on the power of shapes, especially the circle.
Circles are interesting, right? From when we're little, we associate them with all these good feelings, like safety, even life itself.
Yeah, yeah. Like a mother's eye or, the circle of life, things like that.
The sun, the moon, it's all circular.
Right. And then they compare circles to squares and rectangles,
Yeah.
which they say can give us these feelings of being trapped or rigid or even dangerous.
Right. Think about like boxes or cells or even the sharp edges of weapons.
They're all kind of, yeah, unsettling.
Yeah, it's almost like our brains are programmed to react to those shapes in a negative way.
It's interesting how that works. And to prove their point, the book talks about how successful things like the smiley face are, or logos like the Olympics, Starbucks, Target.
All circles.
Yeah, they're all tapping into that, I don't know, that primal attraction to the circle.
I mean, it really makes you wonder, is it just cultural or is there something deeper going on? Something about how our brains are wired?
It's a great question. And speaking of wiring, the book talks about how much we crave simplicity, especially now when we're bombarded with information all the time.
Oh, yeah?
They even mentioned a study where they found that people return a crazy amount of products every year, something like $50 billion worth, just because they're too complicated to use.
That's wild.
I know, and they say the average person gives up after 20 minutes of trying to figure something out.
So we really do want things to be easy.
I do, and that's why I think we're drawn to things that are, easy to understand, use, and remember.
It makes sense. In a world that's so complex, simplicity is almost like a refuge.
Exactly. Think about, the names of popular books and movies and products: FedEx, iPod, Wii,
catchy, short.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're all easy to say and
Oh, yeah.
remember. They
They're
cut
right.
through all the clutter.
And it's not just products. Whole brands are built around simplicity, like Chipotle, Aldi, Google. They've all made it easy for us to get what we want without a lot of fuss.
Exactly. It's like they're saying, look, here's what we do it well, and we're not going to overcomplicate things.
And in a world where we have so many choices, that kind of clarity is really appealing.
Absolutely. And it's not just about loving simplicity. It's also about, our cultural impatience.
Oh, yeah. We want everything now.
Instant gratification, fast food, everything's about speed and efficiency.
Right, right.
They even compare it to Italian culture, where they value taking time and putting effort into things. Apparently, products like Swiffer, the ones that make cleaning super quick and easy, they didn't do well in Italy at first.
Really?
Yeah, because it was seen as like too easy, too fast.
Interesting. It just shows how cultural norms can affect what we consider good design.
Yeah. But getting back to that idea of wanting things to be easy, the book talks about this thing called the fluency effect.
The fluency effect?
Yeah, it's basically the idea that if something is easy to process mentally, like easy to say, read, or understand, we tend to see it as more trustworthy or likable or valuable.
Oh, okay.
Like they found that companies with names that are easy to pronounce, even their stock ticker symbols, tend to do better on the stock market.
That's crazy.
Oh, I know, right? And there's even a study where people thought exercise instructions were easier and more appealing when they were printed in a simple font.
So basically, our brains are always looking for shortcuts, and if something is easy to understand, we're more likely to go for it.
Yeah. It's pretty amazing how these small design choices can really affect how we see things and interact with information.
Definitely. And this leads to a really interesting section where the book highlights brands that have nailed this whole simplicity and user-friendly design thing. We're talking about companies like Apple, Google, Nintendo, Chipotle, Costco.
Yeah, those are all companies that get it.
They really do.
They know that to win over customers in today's world, you have to make things easy to use and provide an experience that feels intuitive.
It's not just about the product. It's about creating a whole ecosystem that's enjoyable and easy to navigate. It's all about the user.
And that brings us to another interesting point the book explores: how design can actually change our behavior.
Okay.
They talk about Kensington High Street in London.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
It used to be a total mess of traffic signs and guardrails, like chaos.
Well, there's a lot going on.
Yeah. But when they got rid of almost all of that visual clutter, something really unexpected happened.
What's that?
Accidents actually went down.
Huh. You'd think it would be the opposite.
Right. But the book suggests that because the environment was more aesthetically pleasing, it made people more careful and considerate.
It's like the design itself was calming people down and making them more aware of their surroundings.
That's a cool way to think about it. And speaking of design elements that can affect us, we have to talk about color. The book dives into color psychology and how it influences our perceptions and behaviors.
Yeah, color is so powerful.
And it's not just about personal preference. There's actual science behind how colors affect us.
Oh, right.
Take red, for example. They mention studies where athletes wearing red tend to win more often in combat sports.
Wow.
And people even do better on tasks that require focus when they're working against a red background.
It's like red is associated with alertness and focus, even a bit of aggression.
Yeah. And let's not forget how red is often linked to attraction. The book points out that men often find women wearing red more attractive.
So it's a color that can really grab our attention and even influence our behavior without us realizing it.
Yeah. It makes you think about how companies use color in their branding and advertising.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely not just about picking a color that looks nice. It's about understanding the psychological impact it can have on people.
Absolutely. And another color with a strong psychological impact is black. The book talks about how it's associated with authority and power.
Oh, yeah. Think about judges, professors in their graduation robes, even the Grim Reaper. They all wear black.
It's a color that commands respect and can even be a little intimidating.
For sure. Like, it conveys a sense of seriousness and formality.
And the book even mentions studies where hockey teams that switched to black uniforms actually got more penalties.
Wow, really?
Yeah, so there might be a connection between wearing black and acting more aggressively.
That's wild. It's like the color was giving them a sense of power and anonymity, making them more likely to break the rules.
It's pretty amazing how color can influence us like that. And they even tell a story about the golfer Gary Player, who was nicknamed the Black Knight because he always wore black. He said that wearing black made him feel more powerful and confident.
It's fascinating, isn't it? How something as simple as color can have such a tangible effect on our behavior. And then the book shifts gears a bit and delves into the world of product design, starting with a case study of the Ford Mustang.
The Mustang is such a classic American car.
Absolutely. But what's interesting is that it was basically a redesigned Ford Falcon, which most people probably don't even remember.
Right, the Falcon just kind of faded away. But the Mustang was a huge hit.
A total icon.
So why did one succeed while the other failed?
Well, the book says that the Mustang's success came down to a few key things, all related to design. First, there's the design of the car itself. It was sporty, sleek, and it had this feeling of freedom and playfulness that really captured the American spirit.
It's like that classic image of the open road and the wind in your hair.
Exactly. And that design has stood the test of time. The Mustang still looks good today.
It does,
Yeah.
but the design is only part of the story, right?
Right. The marketing was also brilliant. They created a sense of excitement and familiarity around the car, tapping into existing cultural associations and making them even stronger. They built a powerful narrative that really resonated with people.
And then there's the name, Mustang. It's such a strong, evocative word. It conjures up images of wild horses running free, which is a powerful symbol of freedom and individuality.
It's the perfect name for a car that represents those ideals. So the Mustang is a great example of how design, marketing, and cultural associations can all work together to create a truly iconic product. It's about understanding your audience and creating something that speaks to their desires on multiple levels.
It's about more than just functionality. It's about creating an emotional connection with the consumer.
Exactly. And for another example of brilliant product design, the book takes us behind the scenes of Vitamin Water.
Vitamin Water, interesting. What's so special about their design?
Well, what's clever about Vitamin Water is that their marketing is almost invisible. They manage to get their message across without being flashy or over the top. The book highlights a few key details. First, the name. Vitamin Water. It's deliberately bland, like it's not trying too hard. It avoids all the hype and marketing jargon, which makes it seem more straightforward and honest.
That makes sense.
And then there's the packaging. It's designed to look like a medical label, which subtly suggests that it's healthy and credible.
So they're tapping into our trust in medical professionals.
Exactly. And then, here's the brilliant part. They added color to the bottles.
Color. How does that make a difference?
Think about it. You're standing in the grocery aisle, surrounded by rows and rows of clear water bottles. And then you see these brightly colored vitamin water bottles.
They stand out.
They totally grab your attention. It's such a simple but effective way to differentiate themselves.
So by not seeming like they're trying too hard, they actually make themselves seem more desirable.
Exactly. It's like they cracked the code of subtle persuasion through design.
It's brilliant. And finally, the book brings us to Steve Jobs and Apple, which is another company known for its incredible design.
Steve Jobs was obsessed with design. He completely revolutionized the computer industry by making aesthetics and user experience a top priority.
Yeah. He understood the design wasn't just about looks. It was about the whole experience of using a product.
The iMac was a perfect example of that. It broke away from the traditional boxy design of computers, introducing curves and vibrant colors. It was simple, elegant, and incredibly easy to use.
It was like a breath of fresh air in a world of boring beige computers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And other companies were forced to follow suit. Suddenly, everyone was trying to make their computers look and feel more like the iMac.
Jobs' vision completely changed the industry.
He transformed the computer from this cold, intimidating machine into something that was friendly, accessible, and even desirable. It was a stroke of genius.
And it's a big part of what made Apple one of the most successful companies in the world.
It really shows the power of design. It can change how we think, how we feel, and even how we behave.
Yeah, it really does. Like when you think about that example with Kensington High Street, getting rid of all that visual noise actually made things safer.
It's counterintuitive, right?
Yeah.
You'd think more signs, more warnings would make people more cautious.
You would. But it seems like sometimes a gentler approach is better.
Like a calmer, more aesthetically pleasing environment might encourage people to be more mindful.
Yeah, like they're naturally more inclined to make better choices.
It's almost like the design itself is subtly nudging people towards the desired outcome.
Exactly. And the book goes on to talk about other ways design can influence us, like the whole psychology of color thing. I mean, it's not just about what colors we like, right? There's actual science behind how different colors affect us.
Absolutely.
The part about red was so interesting. Like, Athletes wearing red tend to win more often in combat sports. Who knew?
It's wild, right?
And then they said that people perform better on tasks that require a lot of focus when they're, working against a red background.
It's like red is linked to alertness and focus, maybe even a bit of aggression.
Makes you think about how much thought goes into things like advertising and branding.
Oh, yeah. They're not just picking colors randomly.
They're really trying to understand how those colors will affect people on a subconscious level.
Exactly. And speaking of colors with a strong psychological impact, the book also talks about black. It's often associated with authority and power, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Like you see judges wearing black robes, professors in their graduation gowns.
Even the Grim Reaper.
Exactly. It's a color that definitely commands respect, and sometimes it can even be a little intimidating.
It projects this seriousness and formality.
They even mentioned studies about hockey teams that switched to black uniforms.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
And they ended up getting way more penalties.
So maybe there is a connection between wearing black and acting more aggressively.
It's possible. Like maybe the black uniforms gave them a feeling of power and anonymity.
Interesting. And they even tell a story about Gary Player, the golfer, who is known as the Black Knight because he always wore black. He actually said that wearing black made him feel more powerful and confident.
It's amazing, right? How a simple color can have that kind of effect on us.
Totally. And then the book shifts gears a bit and dives into product design, starting with the Ford Mustang.
Ah, the Mustang. Such a classic.
But here's the thing. It was basically a redesigned Ford Falcon, which nobody really remembers.
Right. The Falcon kind of disappeared, but the Mustang became this huge icon.
So what was the difference? Why did one succeed where the other failed?
The book says it comes down to a few things, all related to design in some way. First, there's the design of the car itself. It was sporty, sleek, and it really captured that sense of freedom and playfulness that's so connected to the American spirit.
It's like that classic image of hitting the open road, you know?
Exactly. And the Mustang's design has really held up over time. It still looks great today.
But the design is just part of the story, right?
Right. The marketing was also incredibly well done. They really built up a sense of excitement and familiarity around the car, drawing on existing cultural associations and making them even more powerful. They created a story that people could really connect with.
And of course, there's the name itself, Mustang. It's such a strong, evocative word.
Oh, yeah, like wild horses running free. It's a perfect symbol of freedom and individuality.
Exactly. So the Mustang is a great example of how design, marketing, and cultural associations can all come together to create a truly iconic product.
It's about more than just the product itself. It's about understanding your audience and creating something that resonates with them on multiple levels.
It's about building an emotional connection with consumers.
Absolutely. And for another example of brilliant product design, the book takes us behind the scenes of Vitamin Water.
Vitamin Water. Okay, what's so special about their design?
Well, what's interesting is that their marketing is almost invisible. They managed to get their message across without being too in your face about it. Like, the book points out a few things. First, the name, Vitamin Water. It's super straightforward, not trying to be fancy or clever.
So they're not using a lot of hype or marketing jargon.
Exactly. It comes across as more honest and down to earth.
It makes sense.
And then there's the packaging. It's actually designed to look kind of like a medical label.
Oh, interesting.
So it subtly hints at health benefits and credibility.
They're playing on our trust in, doctors and medical professionals.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But here's the really clever part. They added color to the bottles.
Color. How does that play into it?
Imagine you're at the store, standing in front of all those water bottles. Most of them are clear, right?
Right.
And then you see these bright, colorful vitamin water bottles. They instantly stand out.
They grab your attention.
Exactly. It's such a simple but effective way to differentiate themselves from the competition.
So by not seeming like they're trying too hard, they actually come across as more appealing.
It's a subtle form of persuasion through design.
Very clever. And finally, the book brings us to Steve Jobs and Apple, another company known for its focus on design.
Steve Jobs was obsessed with design. Like, it was a core part of his philosophy. And he really revolutionized the computer industry by putting aesthetics and user experience front and center.
He understood that design wasn't just about making things look pretty.
Right. It was about the entire experience of using a product.
And the iMac was a perfect example of that.
Absolutely. It completely broke away from the traditional boxy design of computers, with its curves and bright colors, and it was so easy to use.
Like a breath of fresh air compared to all those boring beige computers that were out there.
Exactly.
Ah,
And it really forced other companies to rethink their approach to design. Suddenly, everyone was trying to catch up to Apple.
Jobs' vision really changed the whole industry.
For sure. He took the computer, which used to be this intimidating, complicated machine, and made it friendly, accessible, and even, desirable.
It was a brilliant move,
Mm.
and it's a big part of what made Apple so successful.
Absolutely. It just goes to show you the power of design. It could really change how we think, how we feel, and even how we behave.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing how a company can become so successful by really focusing on design.
It's more than just making things look good, though, right?
Right.
It's about creating a whole experience that people connect with on a deeper level.
This deep dive has really been eye-opening. Like, I'm seeing design everywhere now.
I know, right?
Shapes, colors, the products we use, the brands we choose. It's all around us, shaping how we see the world.
And the crazy thing is, we're often not even aware of it. Like, we're making decisions based on these little design cues without even realizing it.
It's kind of like a secret language, but one that we all understand on some level.
Yeah, exactly. And we've talked about how good design is all about simplicity, making things easy to use, and creating experiences that tap into our deepest instincts and desires.
And that's why companies like Apple, Google, Nintendo, they just get it.
They're masters of this design language.
They create these products that we love and can't imagine living without.
They're not just functional, they're beautiful, intuitive. They even make us feel something.
It makes you wonder what other companies out there are doing amazing things with design that we haven't even talked about.
That's a great question. We've covered a lot of ground today, but there's so much more to explore when it comes to design and how it impacts our lives.
There really is.
So for our final thought, we want to leave you with this.
Mm-hmm.
Take a look around your own environment, your home, your workplace, the products you use, and just think about how design might be shaping your thoughts, your feelings, even your actions.
It's kind of like a treasure hunt, you know?
Exactly.
Finding those hidden design elements that are influencing us every day.
And the world is full of great design, both the obvious and the hidden. So keep your eyes open, stay curious, and keep exploring. It's a journey that never ends.
Well said. And that wraps up our deep dive for today. We hope you found it insightful and that it's made you think a little differently about the world around you. We'll see you next time.